Guess we can bring this to order. Is there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes.
Any?
There's a couple of CUCs, I typed them on your agenda, 25 Mill Wharf Plaza and 82 Lot 59 Preston Ave.
Okay.
And I had 47 Brook Lane, Brook Street.
If it's near the harbor, it's Brook Street.
Brook Street,
Brook Street.
Okay.
thanks.
So, Mill Wharf,
Anybody else?
Brook Street.
No, I make an amendment to it. I make a motion to accept the agenda with the 3 amendments on it.
Anybody second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. So we can start with an RDA. Is everybody, originally you'd asked me if we could hold a little bit, but
Yeah, there's gonna be an informal that we were talking about maybe starting with at 6:15 for an IDA. It was a request on a revised plan for Chief Justice Cushion Highway. Planning Board allowed an accessory dwelling within a building, but required an additional parking spot. So we had a person ask if they could come and run it by us.
okay.
Come on down.
The lot plan with the proposed.
So what's your name?
Peter Bongazone.
Okay, Peter.
Excuse me, I have a cold.
Sure, sure, keep it to yourself.
We don't want.
I'll stay right back here.
Okay.
I have a plan, this is the existing driveway, and I'm planning on putting an additional driveway on the side. The initial driveway has been approved for pavement, asphalt. I'm gonna put pervious pavers in place of it, and also with the new area I'm proposing.
Do we have an extra plan, or is that your only,
You can take it,
Yeah,
can we just
that's the
pass it
only one.
around?
certainly.
Yes, this was, the planning board required an extra parking spot on its parcel. Originally, there was a paved driveway for 2 cars, I guess, and so this is an additional spot.
And where is it located?
On the left side of the garage,
No, where's your home? What's?
275 Chief
Across
Justice Cushing,
from the Little
across in the
League.
Little League field.
Oh, okay,
The 2 new houses, Frank.
yeah.
So you're putting it on, in the front there because you can't do anything in the back.
Right,
It's right next to.
right next to the existing garage.
It's
seated
taking lawn,
here.
right? It's taking up lawn? It's on the,
Yes.
yeah, it's taking up your lawn, right?
And it will be pavers.
Yes, I understand. It was approved for asphalt, and I don't think asphalt would fly, so instead of doing pavers and asphalt, just do everything in pervious pavers.
Sounds good to me. Are you the first or
Three
second
A's
house?
here.
The one closest to 3A.
Okay.
I think the way this tips, buffer, it couldn't be that way, it's gotta be off the, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's,
So this is a 100-foot buffer.
yeah, and it's outside, it's all
It's-
outside. the
That's
100
outside
foot.
of it, but the reason that we did all that was because this was a fairly tight spot.
Yep.
And there's drainage that, I mean, Penny's,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else was
No,
here.
just
No.
you and
Or,
I.
no, I think Paul was as well. But it's a fairly tight spot, and then there's like runoff that comes down from Old Oak and Bucket Road.
Right.
And there's a catch basin in place for that,
Right.
with drains.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a rain garden there, isn't there, in front of your house? A rain garden?
I don't know what you call it, but it's
I think there's.
everything runs
it's
off
supposed
to a
be-
catch basin.
Yeah,
It's sort of a detention area right at 3A.
yeah, right.
Pat, did you open the file at all? Did you take a look at that? I mean, it was a
Yes.
fairly involved hearing.
Right, it's on an existing section of lawn, the proposed expanded driveway, so
Right.
in giving up the pavers, I mean, giving up the
The
asphalt for the
asphalt,
pavers.
right.
Right.
Okay.
And, you know, he didn't come choosing to do this, planning board required that he had to accommodate another car. So-
Okay. All right.
Sounds okay to me.
So is the order still open on this?
order's open. We could revise the plan, or I could do a minor activities permit, but probably revising a plan would be good. Then they could show it on the as-built.
Yeah. When you, the person that developed, I think it was Mr. Ellis,
Correct.
so he filed with the commission a fairly lengthy filing because of the wetlands and everything that's there.
I remember.
And so we issued a set of orders, and then they build on it, and then at some point, they get a certificate of compliance. So if you're gonna make some changes, the best thing is probably just to amend those orders with that piece on it. We can
Problem.
take this plan and do that.
Yeah, and then when he submits the as-built, he's probably getting ready to do that anyway, so.
Okay. All right. I think that's the cleanest way, right?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
But he needs approval from us to take back to the planning board. Right? He needs approval from us to take back to the planning board? No?
I don't think they care what we do. They're asking him to do it, but yeah, we
Okay.
can
I
certainly.
gave them the same, a copy,
Okay.
Yeah.
16 copies of the same plan.
So basically, if he has our permission to do it, if he
Yeah.
gets the plan into you.
Yeah,
So why don't you just, you wanna vote this?
yeah.
I just-
Review a revised plan and accept his proposal.
Okay.
I make a motion to review a revised plan and accept his proposal of putting in another parking space, made of pavers and no asphalt.
Correct.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right. We're gonna just hang on. Do you need this?
No, I have another one.
You got plenty, huh? Yeah. So we need more than one?
For now, we can take that. It's not
We
getting
can
any
probably,
closer to the
if you
wetlands.
gave the
Yeah.
planning board 16, we ought to be able to.
Imagine that, 16
We'll
copies.
take this, I mean, if.
They're not as
if
concerned
they're-
about the trees as we
if
are.
they're on the as-built, we have this. If they on the as-built, just show it on the final as-built, that'd be fine, because we know what he's doing and we have a copy of this.
All right,
So,
Okay.
so
Okay,
you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Hope your cold feels better.
Wanna
so,
get that? Yeah.
Bill, I think if Penny wants to make all the motions, just let her.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. She's
very good at
she's
Yes, I'm very good at it.
she's
I've been
very
doing
good
it for
at
6 years.
Okay.
Just
woman
don't
in
step on
motion.
my toes.
Don't disturb a woman
We
in
want to
motion.
roll into 305 Country Way. Is there anything else, Pat, you want to do first? Everybody's here.
yeah, all set.
All right. On November 25th, 2013, during the 6:15 meeting at Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of William Crisell, a butter, for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw to establish additional resource areas on property located at 305 Country Way. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. So who's ever up, Mr. Crisell?
So did you get this summary from Pat?
Yeah.
Bunch of paperwork.
Looks like this. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure, though, honestly, that I've ever had a application from an abutter for a property.
Yeah.
We've done it before.
Okay. Well, it must have been a while ago.
Well, it was before Frank and I were on, I know that.
Sorry. This is just a synopsis.
Thanks. Frank, can I just make a request as we're starting? The RDA listed 4 different determinations. If you could just read out what you.
Actually, before that, why don't you guys state your name and address?
Okay. My name's, okay, go ahead, Bill.
Bill Crucell, 275 Country Way.
Thank you.
Lance Van Lenton, 150 Hoboken Bucket Road.
Great, thank you.
You want the 4
You have to open
things?
this, Frank?
What's that?
You have to open this hearing.
Didn't I just read that?
Oh, well, I wasn't paying attention.
We could see that.
Sorry. I'm sleeping.
You did do it, don't worry.
Yes, you did, now I can.
Thank you, Richard. So, fire away.
So Pat, you wanted us to say what the 4 things were? that
Yeah,
we
I mean,
checked?
he just announced that it's a requested determination, but there's 4 different things you're looking to have reviewed that should go into the record, I think.
Okay, I tried to simplify those, but what we checked off are, A, whether the area depicted on the plans are
and our maps referenced is an area subject to the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act. B, whether the boundaries of resource areas on plans and maps referenced are accurately delineated. C, whether the work depicted on the plans referenced below is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act. And the last thing, whether the area and/or work depicted on the plans referenced below is subject to the jurisdiction of any municipal wetlands. And I wrote Scituate municipal wetlands.
Okay. Is this, just one quick thing, this piece here, there's like four bullets. Is that, whose is this?
I just wrote that up. I went through the RDA and I went through the bylaw, I went through wetland protection, and I went through MACC, just kind of summarizing.
So you did
'cause it's
this
a-
piece?
Yeah, it's kind of a long, it's a lot of things to look at.
Have you seen that?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
I did. I looked at that.
This guy.
Okay.
But I synthesized our, the things that we wrote up, the letter, into 3 points. The first is that, based on the order of conditions for 305 Country Way, the only thing that was really determined officially was the BBW, and it's actually language on the ORAD that says that the order doesn't determine boundaries of any other resource area or buffer zone that are not specifically noted. That's the reason why we're not addressing the BVW at all. We're talking about the stream that flows through 305 Country Way. So I don't agree with the first statement that's on the the thing that Pat brought together, because the Conservation Commission, according to the ORAD, only made a determination on the BVW on 305 Country Way. So our focus is on the stream on the site. So number one, there is a wetland at the beginning of that stream that was determined by the Conservation Commission on May 24th, 2012, and you issued an order of conditions for 5 Williamsburg Lane that included that wetland, and we included information from the minutes of the meeting that discussed that property. And there is a continuous channel flowing for that stream to the entire site from 5 Williamsburg Lane to Tack Factory Pond. So in our opinion, and the opinion of Wetland Strategies, who we've consulted with, we believe that the entire stream is jurisdictional. And the section that's called the drainage channel is actually part of a real stream. It's an altered stream. But based on the Wetlands Act regulations and Scituate regulations, since you do have a wetland at the beginning of that stream, you have a continuous channel, you have flow, it's a jurisdictional stream in our opinion.
When you say the start of the streamland, so you're referring to where the drain pipe starts off of Country
Exactly,
Way?
the culvert, yeah.
As opposed to the reservoir? So you started,
Right, we're starting up gradient, so 5 Williamsburg Lane is right on the corner of Country Way and Williamsburg Lane.
yep.
And I could show you a close-up of that spot if you'd like. I have a picture of that.
Well, I've been out there, I think. Why don't we just,
Yeah, I'm confused because I thought back in March 2000, was this here?
January,
Yeah, whatever, that, when we had DEP out there, the tributary, intermittent stream, perennial, whatever they want to call it, that was taken care of when they came out there. And then we made our ruling after that. So I'm like confused what you're asking for, because DEP has already come out there and made their ruling on it.
Well, on the plan, it shows that stream, a section of that stream is a non-jurisdictional drainage channel. And what we're claiming, based on the Wetlands Act definition of a stream, and the Scituate regulations definition of a stream, that it is a stream, a natural stream, and it should have the 50-foot buffer strip from the bank and a 100-foot buffer zone from the bank. Right now, when you look at the 305 Country Way plan, when you get to a line that says DS1 to DS some 8, it says drainage channel. It should
Yeah.
really be a natural stream, and it should have the buffer strip and buffer zone from it. That's what we're.
This
and-
is the same debate we had, though, when Lenore White came out and we all went and walked it. It was the exact same issue.
But what happened was when you issued the ORAD, you didn't make a determination based on the language in the ORAD of where the banks were for the drainage channel and the rest of what was shown as a mix of different streams. You made a decision on the BVW. We don't have a dispute with the BVW. We just want to make sure that the stream is recognized as a protected resource.
Right, but the stream was what was debated last time when Lenore White came out.
Right.
That was the issue, whether or not it was a stream.
Yeah, we just want to confirm that that really is a stream.
But-
But that's, okay. Somebody wanted a concern.
Can I just maybe
Okay.
make sure that
Yeah.
everybody gets just 1 second?
All right.
So just to get a clear picture and refresh, and a couple of, I'm not sure everybody.
I know what you're talking
Bill
about.
wasn't, I don't think. So, on this hearing, what we went out to look at was looking at the bordering vegetated wetlands. Okay? And the consultant for Mr. Crucell at the time was Lenore White. The consultant for the developer is Brad Holmes. And then we hired Steve Ivas?
Yes, Steve Ivas,
So if we had essentially three,
3 out there.
right? Am I, okay. To define a piece of this. And then, in the midst of this, was determined that this stream was a tributary to the reservoir, which
Who determined that?
we don't, the state,
Okay, DEP determined that?
DEP.
Okay.
But it's a different entity, Bill, and we don't have jurisdiction on a trib piece. It's a zoning, it seems crazy, but it's a zoning piece, as far as the setbacks from a tributary.
Yeah, we're not here to deal with.
No, I just want
Yeah,
to,
he's just-
because there was a lot going on, so I
Filling the
think
rookie
it's.
in. Yeah.
Trying to keep it really simple, just stream.
Okay. But I just want everybody to try to remember what we did here. Right, Paul? Does that sound, all make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not even sure Pat was,
I-
no, you just
Yeah,
started,
Pat was
because
here.
actually,
He just started.
you
Second
hadn't
day
even,
of
you
work,
you
yeah.
weren't even on the books when you came out to that first walk.
Yeah, he did that.
Okay,
It was
good, oh,
friggin'
good.
cold that day, too.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I just had a comment on, when the ORAD was issued, they did take a look at the intermittent stream. So the wetland scientist presented the information in the NRAD, and it was voted with the stream that's numbered out there. So there's a stream, a bordering vegetated wetland, and then the other piece that you're talking about was considered to be a drainage. It didn't have the vegetation or the soils to be jurisdictional under our Wetland Protection Act or our bylaw. That was the determination that was made. I mean, if you disagree with it, the time to appeal is the 10 days following when that has been judged. But the other thing about the Williamsburg Lane piece, we're not here to talk about Williamsburg Lane because it's a different property, and what happens in another notice of intent somewhere else wasn't brought up as part of this RDA. I mean, the RDA said it was about the 305 parcel. So, you know, we're trying to dig out what are the facts on this, and the piece that you're talking about, would, if that were intermittent stream, that would change the jurisdiction, but because it was determined not to be, we're only have an ORAD that deals with wetlands and another part of the stream.
Well, there may have been discussion about that, but I beg to disagree with you because the actual language on the ORAD does not mention a stream and any decision made on a stream. As a matter of fact, it specifically says that the only resource that is addressed in the ORAD is the BVW, not the stream itself.
But unless at the time they said, we're only doing the BVW, and if there's other resource areas, then you'd have to come back in. If they give you an ORAD on that, they're making a determination, that's all the ones that have been, you know, they've found out there. They've showed the intermittent stream on the plan, so they didn't put it in the narrative, but they've flagged the stream area in there, so. I know what you're saying, that,
I know it's picky, it's language. I mean, we all live with words, I mean, that's the thing. When you go with the actual text, it says, "The order does not determine the boundaries of any resource area or buffer zone to any resource area not specifically noted above," and that wasn't noted. There were no banks, no streams noted, regardless of whether such boundaries are contained on the plans attached to this order. So the specific language detaching the stream and anything to do with the stream from the ORAD. That's why we're here, because we believe that since there was discussion about the wetland, somebody came out and looked at the continuous channel, that there's this issue that's floating. You have a conflict between the decision made by the Conservation Commission in May of 2012 about a wetland at the origin of that stream, and that was part of the discussion. But since there's no decision made about whether that stream is totally intermittent stream or totally natural, we're here as part of the NRAD to, RDA, to address that and conclude that that stream really is a jurisdictional natural stream.
I'm a little lost on the procedural
yeah,
piece
if,
for this, to be honest with you.
you know, I think that if there hadn't been an ORAD issued, and we were just reviewing an RDA, these would be all things we'd have to go check out. But a lot of time and, you know, wetland scientists' expertise went into determining what they thought was out there.
Right.
And even if there were a bank that wasn't mentioned in there, the bank wouldn't change our jurisdictional boundary. It would still be whatever 100 feet of jurisdiction from an intermittent stream bank, just the same as what the stream is. It doesn't really change where our boundary would be.
Well, maybe we should go into number 2, which is related. The thing is that we believe, since there was difficulty on the part of the consultant, Mr. Ivas, who you hired, to find channels that were found by Mr. Bauk from DEP, we would like to have somebody go out there and locate the bank accurately for the stream. And we request that wetland strategies be part of the field review. So whether or not you decide tonight the stream is jurisdictional or not, part of our request is to have somebody go there and really verify where the bank is. And we can show you evidence based on witnessing a stream and while it's flowing. We're the only people, Bill and I, who've actually recorded, we video recorded from a budding property, the stream flowing. We included a picture in our document that we gave you. We can give you pictures, we can give you a YouTube link if you want to look at it. And the bank flag, some of the bank flags that are out there are actually within the edge of the stream. So we think it's important to understand where the edge of this stream is. The bank is a resource protected under the Wetlands Protection Act and under the Scituate local bylaw. And we think it's inaccurate.
Is there a reason, though, that this just wasn't appealed at the time? That, I mean, we had quite a bit of contention that went on during this hearing, and Mr. Crisell had Lenore White here. I think at one point there was a question about whether or not the BVW line was correct. I think did we have somebody from the state
Yeah,
review that?
Yes, we did.
we did.
Well, I go back to the,
Can I?
yeah, sure, go ahead.
No, so I'm thinking that we did have somebody come out and review that line. I realize you're saying it's not the BVW, but we,
No, they didn't review the line.
They said the town.
maybe one of the engineers for the applicant can help with that.
Yes, Greg Morris.
Not the applicant this time, but,
For the property owner.
yeah.
A couple of things. I'll put a
You
plan
know,
up.
maybe,
Can we complete?
you know, yeah, I think real, in fairness, probably, I just want to make sure I got my pieces right. You'll have a chance to speak. You can set that there if you want to, because it's, but, But am I right about that?
Answer the question if you like.
Go ahead.
We, as we state in our letter with, with our, request, we don't have a problem with the BVW, and we didn't. It's one of the reasons why an appeal wasn't filed. As a matter of fact, there was work, put towards,
All of this will get addressed,
towards
Greg,
it.
all right?
but to answer your question, when we saw the ORAD was strictly about the BVW and didn't address the streams. And what happened over time after the hearing was closed, because the hearing was closed in January, I believe, and after that, that's when we received more information, visual information about the stream and how it flows. That's when we went out there and video recorded it. I mean, I could show you a recording right now if you like of the film, of the stream, and you'll see the bank flags are way off. So the only decision that we have seen in writing that has been filed with the DEP and is on record with the Registry of Deeds or whatever is the decision about the BVW, not about the stream.
Okay.
So we would like to make sure, since this is a very important resource, to understand where the bank is. There's a lot of going back and forth about how important this area is, and we believe that the bank hasn't been officially accurately determined.
But we did walk up that stream, or the best we could in that
Sure.
channel, and at one point, I think it turned into more of a boulder field than an actual stream.
Well, I could show you it's flowing through that area if you'd like.
But we walked through that piece with the consultants, trying to determine the best that we could as to where that was. I believe we did that. Okay.
But we're saying that the flags don't accurately show what you saw
Okay.
on the plan. That's our,
Okay.
that's what we're saying.
All right. And then the third point?
The third point is that the design of the project, if Mr., Greg Moore shows you the other thing, we put a plan on the report that shows where the detention basin is planned, and it's like flush up against the 100-foot buffer zone and the outlet of the detention basin, and I can show you that when we get to that if you like. Would you like to look at that? I have a picture of it. I can show you right here. It's a little bit bigger, a little easier to see.
It's up against it.
From my understanding, the buffer zone is considered a resource. Yeah.
Give them the big one.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we need more plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you guys do that. Got the paper cuts. So I understand that the buffer zone is considered a resource, per the local bylaw. And you have the outlet of that detention basin, flat up against the buffer zone. You're a short distance away from the Zone A, which makes it a critical area in that area. So I'm just wondering whether the Conservation Commission may want to look at that detention basin and comment on it. You have the ability through the local bylaw to extend the buffer strip 200 feet or more if you're in an area that's particularly sensitive. When you look at the shape of the property, the contours are bringing you down towards the reservoir, towards the tributary, towards wetlands that border a tributary, which are called outstanding resource waters. And there was a comment made during one of the planning board meetings where the consultant, John Cheshire, said during a big storm, all bets are off as far as containing the stormwater in that detention basin. So I'm just wondering if you may want to address that as well.
And John Cheshire was the consultant for the planning board for the stormwater?
I mean, so just to recap, we think it's a natural stream. We'd like the bank to be looked at more closely. And the project in general is in a very sensitive area where the Conservation Commission could take jurisdiction over a broader area to make sure that the buffer zone and wetlands were, near the project aren't impacted.
Pat, what do you?
Yeah, I was just gonna make a comment. I agree with Lance on protection of outstanding resource waters and, the drinking supply of the town. And when we first saw the proposed development, the detention basin was at 50 feet to the wetlands. And since then, the applicant pulled it back to 100 feet. And the other thing they did was, they're following DEP stormwater regulations. So the engineer that's doing the review is gonna make sure they meet that. And that's what we require in any project. If they can meet the DEP and stay out of the 100, that's pretty much what we ask for. So they have done a few things to try to mitigate what impacts. As far as the 100-year storm or something like that, John's right. You get storms like that everywhere, and it's,
Okay. All right, well, I don't know whether it's Mr. Morse or Mr. Holmes wants to
Sure.
jump in at this point.
We're going Greg Morse for property owner Doug Sheeran. With me is Brad Holmes. We also have a hydrogeologist, Peter Dillon, with us. He arrives this. Mr. Van Linton did say a couple of things that were wrong, primarily that when this order of resource area delineation was issued, Mr. Crucell did express his right to appeal. He appealed it to the DEP. The DEP then issued a letter.
Well, you know what? It's one at a time. We're gonna,
Go ahead.
The
Sorry.
DEP issued a letter addressed to Mr. Crucell April 18th, 2013. A copy of it is in your file, you were CC'd. It says that the DEP is in receipt of your email date requesting withdrawal of your appeal of the local order of resource area delineation issued for the above referenced file. The order of resource area delineation issued by the Scituate Conservation Commission on February 5th is therefore the final order for the subject file. That's a letter of record for this project. And so we look at the RDA that's been filed, and there are 4 things that were checked off with this RDA. One was to review whether the areas are subject to protection. Yes, they are. We acknowledge that. We came in, we filed an ANRAD, we established a bordering vegetated wetland on this existing conditions plan, generally outlined here in blue. You hired your consultant, Steve Ivis, to review that. That was reviewed, that was approved. That's the line. We also delineated with Mr. Ivis. Mr. Holmes walked the site. The flags were hung. There's correspondence in your file from Mr. Ivis on the intermittent stream. The intermittent stream runs here generally in orange. We had a second intermittent stream at the top of the site. The intermittent streams here. That's where we had groundwater flow that was observed. That's where we had a channel. That's where we had a bank that was observed. Mr. Ivis did review a drainage ditch above this wetland. This drainage ditch accepts roadway runoff at the corner of Williamsburg Lane and Country Way. There had been a wetland flag there on a previous filing, a filing that I was involved in. At that time, on that filing, we were looking at an outfall pipe from a drainage system, which we believed to be a BBW. We didn't go traipsing down to see where that BBW went to. We didn't have the ability to look at the grand picture here and go over trespassing over all of these properties. But through an ANRAD filing on this larger scale project, with your consultant's review, we now were able to really look at the big picture. In that BBW that we previously had delineated, we found was not, in fact, a jurisdictional wetland resource. That's why the connection from here to here, this drainage ditch, which is documented as a man-made drainage channel, was determined by your consultant to be not jurisdictional.
Can I respond to a couple of his comments?
let's let them finish,
Sure.
okay?
So, we certainly don't question that this drainage ditch here and this intermittent stream are a tributary. These, no question, this drainage system is tributary to the town's water supply, the reservoir. And As so, that tributary, including the drainage ditch, has protection. It has a 150-foot no-disturb buffer attached to it through the zoning bylaw. The Conservation Commission is not responsible for protecting the tributary. You're responsible for protecting the intermittent stream, the bank associated with the stream in the bordering vegetative wetland, not the tributary. That's under the planning board's guidelines and zoning. During the planning board process and during the original ANRAD process, your consultant, Steve Ivas, did not delineate a bank through here. There was no bank observed. There was a rock garden, if you will, where this intermittent stream emptied into a rock area, and then it formed again as a channel and went off-site. There was no bank that's jurisdictional under your guidelines. During the planning board process, however, when we were looking at this as a tributary, we had to define what was the tributary. We brought in a hydrogeologist, Mr. Peter Dillon. He went out to the site, he analyzed micro channels through here, and eventually made a connection. We hung additional flags here, tributary flags, trib 1 through trib 5, to establish our 150-foot offset. Jurisdictional as the tributary, not jurisdictional in front of this board. There should be no change to the wetland resources as you see here. And then I get to the intermittent stream status with respect to its setbacks. I understand intermittent streams are certainly protected. We hope to protect them. But if you look here, our project is obviously in the upland, and off of an intermittent stream there'd be a 50-foot no disturb zone. More restrictive though is the 50-foot no disturb zone off of the BVW. Our project complies with that. Our project also complies with a 100-foot setback. You'll see on the grading plan that we've submitted to the planning board, none of our work lies within the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. It's all outside of the buffer zone. The project is wrapped entirely with erosion control devices. We have submitted drainage calculations using the stormwater management policy specifying BMPs as required. It's been reviewed by the planning board's consultant, John Chesia. We've complied with the pre and the post rates and volumes of runoff for the project. Do we discharge to the wetland during the 100-year storm event? Absolutely we do. Is it less than what goes there today? Yes, it complies with the standard. It's all outside the buffer zone. So this RDA, you're right, it is confusing. We certainly accept that there are areas within the 100-foot buffer zone that are jurisdictional. The BVW line, the stream line, they've been established already. I'll turn it over. I don't think we have any reason to bring this project before the commission at this point. You've reviewed the resources. We've kept our work outside the buffer zone. I'll turn it back over to you.
Can I ask, if you wouldn't mind? No, let's let.
Add a quick point. Brad Holmes, professional wetland scientist. Just the process, as the commission may recall, is that I delineated the wetland. I also delineated the non-jurisdictional ditch that connects to the drainage pipe. The commission hired Steve Ivas, wetland scientist, to review that line. Some revisions were made. That was approved through the ORAD issuance. The ORAD was appealed. DEP's wetland scientist, Greg DeCesar, walked that line. I think Frank, you were there. I think some other members of the commission were there. We all reviewed the line. DEP didn't have any recommended changes to the line. They agreed with the non-jurisdictional ditch in the field. The DEP was, it was my opinion that they were getting ready to issue the superseding order of resource area delineation. A request to withdraw that appeal came in. The ORAD stands. So as far as the RDA to confirm resource areas, that's done through the issuance of the ORAD. The non-jurisdictional stream is non-jurisdictional because it's upgradient of wetland resource areas. It comes from a drainage pipe. As far as the previous work that was done on 5 Williamsburg Lane that Mr. Morris mentioned, At that time, we didn't have, I was the delineator on that site, and there was a previous plan that showed the majority of that lot was wetlands from a septic system upgrade for an abutting lot. So my concentration was to confirm that the site wasn't wetlands, and that the closest point where there was wetland vegetation and a discharge pipe is what I erroneously now know that it wasn't bordering vegetative wetlands, but at the time I didn't have the ability to get onto other people's property to follow it as I did when I came up on 305 Country Way. My intent is, after this process is done, is to go back and fix that order of conditions for 5 Williamsburg Lane, but that would be a separate project.
Okay.
Can
Can
I
I ask,
respond to this?
excuse
Okay,
me
go
one
ahead.
second, please. If you don't mind, Mr. Dillon didn't, he worked for Mr. Sharon, correct? But his work was reviewed by John Cheshire? Is that-
No, it was reviewed by Chesia. It was originally looked at by the state, Bruce Belk, who.
Okay, do you mind coming up for just a second?
Excuse me.
Yeah, just, Lance,
There's an allegation being made that we trespassed on people's property, and I just want to make it clear that we had permission from abutters.
who said that?
Mr. Morris, he said we didn't trespass.
He said
And
He said he did.
He said he did not.
about you.
Because we have permission to review that area, just so you know.
Yeah,
Just wanna
no,
make
but
it clear.
I think what he said is, I think Mr. Holmes said that when he did number 5 Williamsburg, he could not trespass on other property. He didn't say you did. I think he said, if I have that right.
Yes.
Okay?
Right,
Good.
All right. Yeah, I think that's what I heard.
All right.
Yes.
But I'm just, out of curiosity,
All right, you have to understand that there's 2 things that you look at.
and your name, just give,
I'm Peter Dillon, I'm a hydrogeologist. I can give you some background if you want.
that's fine.
I've been doing this for a long time. Bottom line is that you're talking about 2 different sets of regulations. One is the Wetlands Protection Act, which, as far as I can tell, looks like everything has been complied with and it has been approved. Second thing here is the tributary. The definition of a tributary is not the same in 310 CMR 22, which is the water supply regulations, as it is in the Wetlands Protection Act. The water supply regulations basically include areas that are man-made. So in other words, if you have a drainage ditch that's basically flows eventually into a Class A water supply, then it would be considered tributary. That's the actual definition in 310 CMR 22. There is no definition for tributary in the Wetlands Protection Act. So that's really where, it's a separate, and that's what I looked at. So it's a completely separate issue.
Okay. When we were just, and this is from our benefit, I hope everybody will indulge me for a minute. When we were in that sort of boulder field or whatever, we were sort of trying to determine if there was a true channel. And, I don't know, we did the best we could. And did you review that?
I did. I looked at that, and I did the same thing. That, in fact, actually, I called the state before I went out there and looked at it, just to make sure that we were going to be seeing things eye to eye. And did it the same way. You look for scouring. You look for, this is a fairly, it's a fairly wide area, but there are channels in through there that flow from point A to point B, and at some point, obviously, you can see the flow that went through there.
Okay.
Have I observed actually flow going through there? No, I've been out there during dry periods, but like I said, there has to be a connection between that point and the point where it actually turns into a real stream.
Okay.
And did it the way that I've done it.
So, are you the person that determined that line? Greg, did he determine?
I did not determine well, it's pretty obvious where the line between the 2 points, yes.
Yeah, okay, great. And you based that on scouring and?
I based that on 25 years.
Okay, because part of your question is it flagged appropriately, right?
Can I respond to
Sure.
some of the things about it?
So can we, maybe we'll flip back. And just to remind we have a lot of people here that aren't for this tonight,
Well,
so.
that's
Yeah, I wanna make it
that-
really
that-
quick
That
and
is
simple.
not jurisdictional to the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
All right?
No, we understand that.
Okay.
It's a baffling to me how that all works, but we found out the hard way as well that It's a zoning issue and not a conservation or a wetlands issue.
Yeah, I'd
Yes.
just like to clarify that, you know, Bill did file an appeal, but he pulled it. And again, the only thing that we can find based on language in the ORAD is that the commission determined the BVW on 305 Country Way. So the stream banks are still unfound as far as somebody officially determining where they are. I know you've had people out there looking at it and going, yeah, I think it's there, I think it's here. I have a video, I can show you 1 minute, the stream, and, you know, and you see the bank flag is just like, you know, within 10, 20 feet of the edge of the stream, you know. It's in, I'll send you, I can send you the link, and you can send it, share it with.
Send it to Pat.
Yeah.
And then, I think
So-
I watched one at one point.
So we're just asking that, you know, number one, you already decided there's a wetland, and even Mr. Holmes, who flagged it, there's a wetland at 5 Williamsburg Lane at the start of this stream. So there are many streams that have been altered in our town, and they may look like a drainage channel. You see them in the West End, you see them all over the place. Even First Herring Brook has been altered many times into Tack Factory Pond, dammed, or whatever. So even though a stream may be altered and look like a drainage channel, it could still be a jurisdictional stream,
Okay.
since you have a wetland. The second thing is we'd like to get somebody out there to look at it. You know, I mean, and that's why we request that, you know, the Conservation Commission, you know, have somebody go out there and look at it along with our consultant, Wetland Strategies. So those are the two main things. I think, based on what Mr. Morse has explained to you, you know, the issue about the detention basin is something I think the planning board has a good handle on. You know,
Okay.
we don't agree with the number of units on that property, but, you know, the detention basin would probably be okay.
Okay.
So it's those two main things, you know, that we're looking at.
Pat, do you, wanna add anything?
Well, yeah, I think the fact that we have an ORAD that's been closed and approved, and it's been looked at by specialists, I don't think we'd be able to come up with a different determination other than what they came up with. I mean, it is a tricky area where it goes to a boulder field, but either way, I think that drainage area up top, which is part of the tributary, is not an intermittent stream, so I don't see how it would make any difference whether we found some banks further down, because they're part of the intermittent stream BVW area.
We're actually not as interested in, we want to look at this area here through there, not just the lower area, the boulder field area. We want to look at flags, IB1, you know, actually we want to look all the way at what's called now a drainage channel, up to that area. We don't want to focus solely on that boulder field area. So we would like our consultant to go out with, you know, whoever you decide, and really look at those flags, because when you look at it flowing, and this was after 1.5 inches of rain, it just spread way out past the bank flags that are already there. I mean, Steve was out there, you know, a dry period of time. It's a difficult area to observe. Steve missed a few channels that when Bruce Balk from DEP came out, he noted, and when Mr. Dillon came out, looked at it, he noted some areas too. So.
But I think, we mentioned Mr. Bach, and we were all there with him as well.
Sure.
And he walked the stream, I'm pretty sure, with us and reviewed it. And I think it seemed like we were pretty much all in agreement, Lance, that they had this pretty well marked out correctly.
He didn't look at the flags. He just solely looked on the flow.
So it was up to the town to determine.
And as a matter of fact, we put an email attached, there's an email attached to our letter from Bruce saying that it's up to the town to determine where the edge of that stream is. Okay? And that's why we put it in there. I mean, he specifically doesn't want to do that work. It's just too much work for the state to do all that. They expect the local communities to do that.
Right. But we did, I mean, he had the opportunity and walked it with us as well. You know, so he's pretty familiar with it.
Oh, he does a lot of streams.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it was very impressive. A lot of it was work that was done by a group, including yourself, a long time ago with tributaries, and he had a pretty hefty folder and had some pretty good familiarity with our town and with the site, and seemed to look at that and concur. I mean, his point of view was, yes, it's a trib. To your point, it's like, well, what is the actual bank of it?
Yeah, we're calling it a stream.
Okay.
If I, the order of resource area delineation confirmed the bordering vegetative wetland. The bordering vegetative wetland, from what I'm hearing, is no, they're not contending that. Any interior resource areas within the wetland system, like intermittent streams, they don't have any additional jurisdiction beyond the bordering vegetative wetland. So unless the project proposes entering the wetland and, you know, such as a crossing or driveway crossing, something like that, then the intermittent streams would want to be delineated. There is no, since they're all interior wetland, interior streams within the bordering vegetative wetland, it's a moot point. So your concentration and the design concentration is what is the most up-gradient wetland resource area, and that's the bordering vegetative wetland, which holds that 100-foot buffer, which they've designed against. And we've all looked at that non-jurisdictional ditch that goes up to the discharge pipe. That is non-jurisdictional because it flows only from a drainage system. If that was connected to another wetland or bog or a stream or something like that, then that would kick that into it being a stream, and that would carry jurisdiction. We all reviewed that in the field. We looked at that at length. It's non-jurisdictional. So the ORAD that you have is correct. It's the most landward resource area on the site. You have an ORAD in place to confirm that. So the wetland lines, yes, the boundaries are confirmed, the areas are confirmed. There's no work within the jurisdictional buffer zone. You already have all your answers already.
Well, the bank is an area that's protected under the Wetlands Protection Act, and that's what we checked, letter A.
Okay.
So whether or not it affects any work or not, a bank is a resource area. That's why we added that. And the other thing is that, according to Mr. Holmes' own data, at 5 Williamsburg Lane, the estimated seasonal groundwater height is 78.7 inches, which is the same elevation as the stream bed. So it makes total sense that that stream has natural characteristics. Mr. Ivas found hydric soil at that point. He found 50% vegetation. So we're beating a dead horse about the wetland. There is a wetland there, and it's at the beginning of this water body, so it's jurisdictionally a stream. It's something that wasn't referenced in the ORAD, so that's why we're bringing it up now through an RDA. And we'd just like to have it checked to make sure that it's accurately shown on all plans, so it can be protected.
Frank?
Yes.
Lance, you keep saying that the flags of the bank, you don't think they're right, but when we went out there with DEP, all those flags were out there and he didn't question.
He didn't look at the flags because he specifically said that he expects the town to measure the flags.
We also, he saw the flags when he was out there. I mean, we all saw the flags.
Yeah, that's why we put that email in there from Bruce, because Bruce, he's not going to measure the edge of a stream, and he might have looked at them just passingly, but he didn't look at them in terms of accuracy. He expects the town to do the accurate measurement.
Okay.
I don't see how it would change even if we go out there. It changed the.
We're just asking, it's a tributary.
No,
okay?
I
And it means
hear
it goes to the
what
public
you're
water
saying, but
supply.
it shouldn't hold their project up, I don't think.
It's important to know where it is. That's why we want to know.
Okay. Bill?
The state went out there, 2 wetland specialists went out there.
Three.
Inland, our jurisdiction can only apply to the BVW, which it is, and banks, which were not established. So the 2 questions that need to be asked is, will this alter a resource area? And is this outside our resource and buffer zone? And it seems that it is. So I think that we've established where the buffer zone is, where the resource zone is, where the BVWs are. There were no banks established, so I don't think that we have anything to turn this over.
Okay, I'm not sure that it's looking to turn it over, but it's.
Or to add this to it,
Okay.
I guess.
To alter it.
Right.
I agree. I think there's been enough experts that have taken care of this now, and I don't see anything that's going to really alter it.
Paul?
Yeah, my opinion is, the stream issue, we previously discussed this, that's why we went out there for the site visit. We had the consultants, we had DEP out there, we have an ORAD, we have a closed NOI. We're outside the appeal period, we're basically discussing appealing the findings of all that, over similar issues that we already discussed.
Okay. Greg?
In looking at, or to put your mind at ease with regard to that upper drainage ditch, if we looked at that and determined it was an intermittent stream for whatever reason, our proposed project, as it stands today, because we acknowledge it's certainly tributary, complies with a 150-foot buffer to it, a no-disturb buffer of 150 feet from that ditch. If for whatever reason it came back as intermittent, you'd have a 50-foot no-disturb buffer. We're in greater compliance with what we're proposing here.
Can I respond to that?
And I think that's gonna be about it.
There's 150 foot right along this project that moves at all. It has an effect on this project design. That's why he's concerned about this. Our concern is knowing where that stream is, and the Conservation Commission has not really determined where those lines are officially. And we're claiming, based on visual evidence, I mean, seeing is believing. Bill and I were out there when that stream was flowing, and that stream was flowing past the banks. And we're just asking to have that looked at by somebody who's familiar with channels, and we're asking that, relevant strategies to go out there and look at those bank fronts and make sure they're okay. I mean, they may go out there and say, they're fine, but we would like to have that. That's what we're requesting.
But I think where we're gonna wind up back at, if I'm not mistaken, is, let's say Wetland Strategies, which is Lenore White, goes and looks at this line, and let's say that she disagrees or thinks that they should move. And then they've already been flagged by the applicant, and we've already reviewed them, and they've already paid us for our review, Mr. Rivas, to do that, and he's verified that location. Am I correct? So that they've already paid they've paid for their consultant, and they've paid for a town-hired consultant to review those. And I'm just not sure what we're gonna change at this point.
Well, if they're wrong, where are we then?
But how are we gonna, let's just say that Mr. Crusel's consultant goes out and says, oh, I think they should be off by a few feet. We've already paid, the applicant's already paid the town to have someone review them, and they're marked. So how do we get past that point?
Well, I think you have to look back at what happened with the original consultant. The original consultant couldn't find areas that DEP found, so his decision about where the flags were.
When you say that the DEP found, meaning Mr. Block?
Yeah, I mean, he actually found like.
Two different standards.
That's what I am hearing, and from Mr. Block, my understanding was that his review of these is a zoning issue. It's not a, and I'm not trying to pass the buck. I'm not trying to pass the buck. I'm saying that, because I was quite surprised that we weren't the board that reviewed tributaries, that it became a zoning issue.
Well, I just want to stick with stream. I think the stream bank is inaccurate. Our request is to have somebody look at it to make it accurate, and, that's where we're at, and so.
Okay. I'll take a motion.
What, I don't know what you want. I mean, I don't,
Close the request for determination and issue a determination of applicability based on negative or positive things that we have to look
Okay.
at. So, if you have enough information.
All right. Can we just end this tonight and then review that?
I think we need to say whether we're making a positive or a negative determination, so when they leave here.
All right. All right.
Positive, but what number?
Well, it would be, close it, and then we could look through the list. There's a lot of choices, and positive may sound like positive, but it might be negative, so we need to review it.
All right, so do we have a motion to close, to end this?
I make a motion to close.
Yes.
Positive determination.
What's going on? Are you closing this, are you agreeing there's something to be determined here still?
What we do first is stop all discussion. And then the commission can look at the points, as Pat spells out. We're just gonna look through these various points and decide whether there is further issue. Yes.
And just one other point, that is not a stream, it's a drainage ditch.
Okay, thank you.
It's been there, it's a drainage.
Okay,
When it runs, when it rains out, with its stone.
right. Okay, thank you.
So do we have to close this positive?
We got a second,
We don't have to do that.
we got a second the motion to close.
Okay.
So do we have a second to
Yes.
close this?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can you get a copy of the decision when you make?
Sure.
So Frank, in front of you, you have pages 2 through 5, and that has the choices.
See a lot of stuff in front of me, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere in the pile.
I was looking for it, I don't know why.
Please, sir, was that timely that you're not getting here a little later? Just,
Yeah, I've got mine.
You can join us now, I think.
Yeah. The Scituate one or the,
No, the determination, the negative.
For the state
for
or the-
IDA.
So where are we?
We've got them, I have them right now.
right.
yep, I've got it someplace in here. Hold the line, please.
I don't think it's
Which
in there. I thought it
undermines
was
the
a
whole
single
appeal
sheet of
period.
paper.
Pat, do we wanna, take this up a little bit so we can keep moving?
Yep. It's Frank's, does everybody want a copy of that? 235? It's,
I got a copy. Let me just fold some of this up. Why don't we move on, and then, so that everybody isn't tortured by, is
Oh, you know what? I don't know.
that okay?
I was gonna make fun of you. No, nobody
Yeah.
knows.
Is everybody waiting for the
Yeah, I have it here,
On,
right here, honey.
I don't think so.
I don't think I do, but I'll share.
Yeah.
I've got them here if you want.
period starts. We might need to do it tonight.
Yeah, I think we should.
Oh, we should do it tonight, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's closed, okay.
All right? We're not gonna take any more info, we're just,
So I don't have to walk around.
What?
You got me an agenda, so I don't have to walk around.
can I ask maybe that we can do one thing? There's two notice of intents. And, I know that the Indian Trail one's gonna be continued. So to let some people, go, I have to recluse myself from that. So I'm just wondering if we can do that so that, because the other piece could take quite a bit of time as well, and we're already almost at 7:30. So I gotta,
Recuse yourself.
You open it and I'll close it.
So do we have, is there anything that has to be read? No?
yes.
No, we're not closing it, we're just postponing it,
We're
right?
postponing it, but it still has to be read.
Yeah.
Probably won't take long then, right? On November 25th, 2013, at 6:50, while we're a little late, in the Town Hall of the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws, Section 30700 of the Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Joan H. Fitzpatrick to construct a retaining wall and minor septic system work within the 100-foot buffer zone on property located at 121 Indian Trail, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. However, we have,
Move to postpone. Right?
Well, just
Yeah,
real
wait a
quick.
minute. I think, do you want to say something?
Well, I'm Marty Nova with Nova Armstrong. I filed the notice of intent on behalf of Joan Fitzpatrick. I'm just here to open the hearing, present the proof of mailings to the abutters, and then request a continuance. The entire project team couldn't be here tonight.
okay,
So, and at that time, at the next hearing, we can have a formal presentation with the plan on the board for the project, so.
Okay.
And if there's any administrative issues that we can deal with between now and then, I'm here,
You okay with that? Yeah.
Okay, and do you have the notifications?
Yep, I just gave them to
Carol.
Carol.
So you would want to then continue to the next meeting, 2 weeks from tonight?
correct. I think it's the 9th?
December 9th?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll make a motion to continue 121 Indian Trail to December 9th at 6:30.
Second?
In favor?
Aye.
6:30.
Everybody in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Thank you.
It's
We're
great,
good?
thank you very much.
6:30 on the 9th.
Thank you.
Around.
Okay.
John was sitting there up. You want to tell the boss he can come back?
Well,
It's safe?
It's safe.
Told him not to go too far. Yeah, next time.
What was the date on the continuance?
No.
2 weeks from tonight.
This isn't like town meeting, you can bring it up again once we leave.
No, no, we're not bringing it up.
No.
We're just waiting until you get in
It's
your
all on
car.
TV, so, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How we get all of our work done, yeah.
Okay, Frank, come on, let's go.
So December 9th,
Yep, at 6:30.
yeah, and then what's our next one, 18th?
The
Okay.
18th. Well, I believe it's the Wednesday. Yeah. And then we're done until the first of the year. This January.
Wish I could do everything so efficiently.
On November 25th, 2013, at 6:40, we're running about an hour late, the Town of Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, regarding the application of Kenneth Duval to reconstruct and replant an isolated vegetated wetland on buffer zone located at number 87 Maple Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
If anybody can't see and they wanna move up, I'll sit over this way to be able to see the plan.
Do we, you know what might be helpful with this one, Greg? Why don't you take that and put it over here? And then that way, and I can go out to the truck and get some binoculars if, but I think.
I'll move up if you
Yeah,
like.
Some of them.
I know nobody wants to sit in the front pew, but.
I got a couple.
You're up.
Good evening, everyone. You may remember, my name is Adam Brodsky. I'm an environmental lawyer. I'm working for the applicant and property owner, Ken Duval, who is to my left. I'm here with Greg Morse, our professional registered engineer, and Brad Holmes, our professional wetland scientist. And you may remember that Mr. Duval purchased this property in 2011. It's approximately 4.8 acres, and it happens to be adjacent to a piece of property owned by the town and administered by the Conservation Commission. There's an existing single-family home on the property. In September of 2012, Mr. Duval caused approximately 1 acre of the land to be cleared and trees removed. In October or November of that year, he then spread gravel in that cleared area. When the work was being performed, they relied upon stakes that were set in the field as well as an existing stone wall, making the assumption that that was the property boundary with the commission's parcel, and in fact, that was a mistake. They actually did work and remove some trees on the town and commission's parcel, altered approximately 10,000 square feet of the Conservation Commission's land. Complaint was filed with the town hall, and in fact, the planning director told Mr. Duval at that time that he needed a stormwater permit for the alteration and the installation of the gravel. Mr. Duval hired Mr. Morris, hired Mr. Holmes, and went forward thinking that we were going to design a stormwater system to address the stormwater associated with the gravel area. Actually, in that process, looking at some historic plans that contained a delineation, we discovered that, in fact, there was a small IVW, isolated vegetated wetland, that is regulated under the local bylaw that was also altered. We voluntarily disclosed that to the commission and to the town, and understood that we needed to address that situation. Ultimately, it was decided that rather than keep the gravel in place and design a stormwater system and obtain a stormwater permit, that the better course would be to remove the gravel, and that was done under the direction of the agent in October of this year. So the gravel has been removed. What remains there is a loam pile, as well as a small pile of gravel that needs to be either taken off-site or reused in connection with this project. And so we're in front of the commission to do two things. One, to get permission to restore the IVW, and you'll hear Mr. Holmes describe how we're going to do that. As part of that, we're also going to restore the buffer zone, or portion of the buffer zone, to the IVW. We're also proposing to restore the 10,000 square feet of altered Conservation Commission land, and Brad will describe that for you. We're asking for permission to do that work. And with that, I'm going to have Brad explain in more detail what we're proposing.
Sure. Get in your way, but I can kind of point out. On the southern portion of the site, there's an isolated vegetated wetland. I was on site previously in 2011 or so for a wetland delineation, and that was actually my delineation from before. My intent, was previously hired to do a delineation for a septic upgrade. So I did delineate the edge of the bordering vegetated wetland here, which they have not within 100 feet of that wetland. There is that isolated vegetated wetland here. So we're proposing to fully restore that isolated vegetated wetland, excavate the fill material and restore it with hydric soils and native wetland plants. We're also proposing to restore a buffer zone here with conservation wildlife seed mix, loam and seed, and a row of saplings along the edge, native saplings, to demarcate the edge of the wetland and buffer zone. And the woodland area here is not within a buffer zone or wetland resource area. However, we're proposing restoration due to it being off-site. And that area is really a dominant white pine forest, so we're proposing to restore that with to loam and seed it with a woodland seed mix, and then larger evergreen saplings is a little bit of diversity than what exists there. White pines with red cedars and oaks within this area, all spaced out appropriately. And I have the numbers if you'd like to go over them. Same here, also the spacing within the wetlands all appropriate. And the remaining site here shaded is proposed as a erosion control seed mix to promote quick stabilization. Obviously, that wouldn't be able to be done until the spring, but that's the remaining portions. Certainly take any questions you may have.
My first actually the only question I have is that you have proposed buffer zone restoration, okay? Does not that have to be 50 feet wide?
What I proposed was 25 feet.
Yeah.
The reason for the 25-foot buffer was because, as I remember the site when I was in there in 2011, I don't have detailed records. But as I remember, the area behind the garage is more of kind of a merging meadow. It's something that, as I recall it, is to be somewhat more disturbed going into a woodland area, so I didn't propose a full 50-foot buffer zone restoration at that time, at this time.
We should add that we're actually improving wetland habitat out there. We're providing more diversity than existed in the original IVW, and certainly more diversity in the buffer zone, which was an altered meadow before. There's actually no requirement in the regulations that you restore buffer zone. Your regulations require that if you have a natural buffer zone, that you retain the buffer zone. But we wanted to obviously improve conditions, given the fact that we had done work without authorization.
Okay, I just,
Are we looking at stormwater stuff here too?
We can ask.
Because, okay, are we looking at stormwater plan here too? Because down to the right is, what, down offside to the right is another pond or something, right, or some water body?
I'm happy to have Greg explain, but we do not require a stormwater
Okay.
permit because we removed all of the gravel material. The reason that planning thought that, appropriately thought that we needed a stormwater permit, that we had created an area of impervious coverage. We've removed all of that, so it's now all pervious, eliminating the need for a stormwater permit.
and they're not gonna park boats out there.
Well, I don't even think that it's really get to us. So the only, from the conversation, or what you've told us so far, the only land that was disturbed, approximately, obviously, is the 10,000 square feet of conservation land, or there was more land that wasn't conservation land too?
All told, there was approximately 1 acre of land that was disturbed. The majority of that was Mr. Duval's, and he had every right to do that, provided, of course, if he was working within the buffer zone to wetlands, that he needed to come forward with a permit. And it just so happened that there was an IVW, which required that we come in and get a permit from you. Obviously, because we did work on your land, we need to go back out there and go on it in order to restore it, and we're asking your permission to do that.
Got it, thank you.
The only thing I would say is I would want to see the specifics on what's going to be planted at some point. Doesn't have to be now, but
Sure,
at some point.
I didn't want to go overboard in my discussion, but there's a mitigation narrative that spells out all the steps, has all the spacing, sizes, and species of plantings proposed in each area, all for the appropriate location.
That narrative is attached in Appendix C.
Actually, now I recall, I saw it, thank you.
Yeah.
Paul?
No questions.
Lisa?
So pretty much everything was addressed, and then the last bit of gravel then would be removed, remaining gravel?
I believe that we've proposed a small access drive, and maybe Brad, you can point that out.
But there was an access road or driveway that was created that has been removed. There is a proposed gravel access road or driveway proposed in this area of the site outside the 100-foot buffer. So that has been abandoned and removed.
Right, so I believe the intent is to use a portion of that gravel to get that access drive in there. To the extent that there's any additional material, it will be removed.
Okay. Thank you.
Pat?
Yeah, I had a few questions.
right.
Part of it was related to the grout that was used out there, was ground asphalt. So we really want to make sure you get all of that out of there, because that's near tributary to the drinking water supply. Did you submit anything about natural heritage? Is it definitely outside natural heritage? On that, 'cause it's, you know, that part of town, the boundaries for that and water resources. Water resources is pretty close, but I think it's down slope and it's down.
Yeah, it's down to the lower right, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was, yep.
I believe it's outside. I don't have the map with me.
Okay.
The figure should have been attached with your NOI package.
Yeah, I saw a
Figure three.
reference to it, but I didn't see the map, but, you know, we can check the map too, it was just something if you.
I believe it was outside of it.
In that swale area with the stones to the right, taken out as part of
Yes,
this.
all that's being taken out.
The other thing is, we need to know how you came about determining the disturbed area. I know it's, once something's filled, then it's like, well, what did it look like before? And if there were overheads or previous delineations that you had records of, and you had been out there, was that area was cleared up by where the barn is? I mean, that was a field, or?
Going back to 2011 or so, as I remember getting to the site, the portion of that was obviously, as I remember it, cleared at one time and was more of an emerging area. It wasn't all forested in there. Like I said, I don't have any other records than what I remember, because at that time we weren't in this scenario. It was just locate the wetlands so that they could figure out if they would have to file with conservation
He
for a
didn't own
septic
it
upgrade.
for long. He's a family that lived there. I
But
actually
the wetland line was delineated for the IVW
Okay.
by Ralph Cole and MR Survey.
Oh.
And that line is overlaid onto this plan so that we know.
Okay, so that's where that came
Right,
from then?
right.
That came from
This is-
previous?
Right, this
okay.
from a previous delineation, this one here.
Oh, okay. Okay, we appreciate the fact that you've come in with a mitigation plan for planting the area plus the wetland and all of that. If it's something that we approve as far as the mitigation plan, we'd have to have somebody review it, just to make sure that your plants and your locations and the shading and all that would work. But I mean, it looks like a pretty reasonable plan. We have to see the area staked out there too. The area with, it's on conservation town-owned land. We've been told by town council to hold off on any agreements mitigating that piece. The other stuff under the Wetland Protection Act and under maybe stormwater bylaw, the plantings, I think, we're gonna have a lot more say over. I think town council may want to talk to you about the piece that's on town-owned land. Anytime something happens on town-owned land, we go through the town administrator and town council. I think we're probably gonna have to continue, but I think this gives us an idea of what's planned.
That's it's just a scrap.
What's planned, what the mitigation plan looks like. If people wanted to see the site, stake it out, see the old Ralph Cole plan, we could do that. And I think the town is gonna try to meet you halfway on this. I'm not sure what the plans are for the disturbance on the conservation piece.
We were candidly hoping to close the hearing tonight and get an order, because we have a short window where we still can buy stock and get it in the ground before the first freeze. And so, obviously, whatever the commission decides is appropriate, we will abide by. We didn't think that the restoration was necessarily that complicated. That requires peer review, given your expertise. But we were just hoping that perhaps there was some way of getting this done and getting this work done sooner rather than later. Well, obviously, we have to continue for several weeks. Then you'll need to make your decision and then issue your order. It'll be too late for us to go out and do any planting.
Can we, is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak to this?
Pat, there are other forces at play here, correct?
Right, that's outside the Wetland Protection Act piece,
Yep.
But I think having somebody else take a look at it, I wouldn't feel comfortable not being a botanist, saying that, yeah, this would work at this site. So, there would definitely have to be somebody to take a look at this. We're not gonna make it a major project, but we do have, wetland scientists that we could have, either meet Brad out on site, walk it, see what might work best.
Again, we have no objection. We were just hoping that perhaps
you
we have
can
an
plant
opportunity
before it gets too cold, yeah.
do something here to make it better.
If we close, would that be any conflict with the town council and the rest of the
That's kind of a
administrative
separate
bodies
thing.
that?
I'd be a little more nervous about closing, not having talked it over with another wetland person. I think that is a separate piece, but I think that's,
Can
we have
I-
our own mandate to follow.
Right. Typically, if we did something this, I appreciate what Adam's saying, but, and how far have you gone with this? Like, when I walked the site last time, it had all the ground asphalt. Has that been removed already?
It has.
So right now, there's just raw ground there, and so your concern is that there could be erosion and other things that could happen over the winter, or is that
Well,
pretty
I'm not-
stabilized?
I'm not sure that we're gonna be able to get a ground mix this time of year, but we could get all of the trees, and this is a good time to do it.
I'm just a little, we've had well below freezing weather. How could you plant with the weather that we've had?
There's no frost yet.
Oh, okay.
I mean, in terms of getting, they're still planting trees and shrubs, like.
Okay, so I just, 'cause
Once you go down it.
But
it's surface.
as Pat says, to have somebody else, typically a project of this size, we would have someone else, and I don't know if you've got, I think you're right, it could be a very simple,
Yeah, because we walked the BVW line, and
if
that was
we,
pretty standard.
if we were to close, though, on their piece without the town-owned piece, if we were able to close on that so they could complete that isolated wetlands, and you had someone review that with them, do you see an issue with that? I'm more concerned, as you point out, and you've expressed your concerns to me before, that the town would like to have someone take a look at the town-owned piece. Personally, I mean, we're always looking for opportunities to do some habitat enhancement, or maybe some emerging growth, or some other piece, and quite honestly, what you're proposing to plant there, maybe we'd look at something that might be more beneficial without being any more costly, might even be a little simpler to do that. You know, we have lots of mature woods, and we have very little emerging growth pieces, and personally, I don't see the reason right now, if we have an opportunity to do it, I don't think it's gonna cost you any more or any less, and it might actually be beneficial to the town if they were able to do something like that in that small area, if it's a benefit to the habitat. And maybe if we had somebody out looking at that wetlands piece, they could simply say, you know what, it's a small area and it wouldn't be helpful. Or they might say, you know what, a little area like that could be nesting for a couple of woodcock or something like that, that might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, I think too, with the mitigation plan, it's different type of plants that were taken out of there, and there's probably a reason, because now it's not gonna be a shaded area, so they're gonna be putting in trees to provide some shade. Before it was more of a.
But what I'm saying to you, I mean, when we're talking about doing some of these other pieces of property, when we're looking at some of our other locations, we're actually talking about creating emerging growth areas, because it supports another type of habitat that we've been losing in the town of Scituate. So it's a small area, maybe it's not big enough, but it actually might be an opportunity to try something a little different right on that spot, on a piece of property that we own, on Mr. DeVal's nickel.
How about this, we close it and we order it so that they can plant immediately the plan on the isolated wetland, and then we condition it so that the stuff on the town property, you know, would be subject to review and approval.
What are you gonna do, what were you thinking that you would do this fall? I mean, because there isn't a lot of time left. You'd reconstruct that isolated
We
wetland?
were hoping to do the work in the IBW as well as the planting on the town land, but we understand that we can't go forward with any work on the town land. I mean, that can be separate and distinct from an order, because it's not a jurisdictional area. It's just we need the town's permission to do that work.
Right.
So conceptually, you could give us an order of conditions to do the IBW restoration.
Right, for the wetland.
work.
Yeah.
And Pat, could we get somebody, how fast could we get somebody to go out with them?
We get someone out there this week, next week, probably not this week.
Short week.
We're on for December 9th. I know we're up against the planting season, but getting it done right.
Yeah, what's all right.
And again, it can wait till the spring. We were just.
Well, what if we do this? Why don't we, if we wait, we'll close, and hopefully we'll have some orders for the 9th. So we do it, because if we close tonight, then you wouldn't get orders till later on, so we could actually hopefully close and give you some orders on the 9th. And if the weather holds, then you guys can go at it.
About 50/50 that it won't freeze by then. 50/50.
Yeah. My guess is with all the stuff we got left to do, the winter's gonna start early, but it's just,
again, we may be over ambitious here.
Yeah. But I just, if we're talking to town council, I realize that there's an issue that's here, that's wrong, that has to be corrected. But I'm really thinking that, and I don't know that, I'm not an expert, but we had that whole Conway School report, and one of the pieces was, let's think about some emerging habitat area. Maybe that's too small an area. Not that I want to have Mr. DeVal go cut some more trees down, but.
But the rest of the area, they've talked about an area of planting wetland seed mix. I mean, that's that's beside this area. Maybe that would be an area that could expand into that too.
Right. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, why, maybe it's a good opportunity for us to see something a little different there.
And I think it would help if the commission wrote up something or emailed town council about your thoughts on this at this point, saying that there's a chance to do something good and you're in favor of something, because sometimes encroachment just becomes a real negative battle, and there are some things that could work out here.
Would that be something that you might consider for that small area? I mean.
We would consider anything, of
All
course.
right.
I mean,
We're looking at
I don't think we would want to create new wetland there, but
No.
create a different kind of habitat that would have
Right.
greater value, of course.
But what we've seen happen locally is that, a small uplands.
Small shrub.
So the onus is on us now. We gotta go figure out.
Well, I think we need to talk with town council or town administrator and see what their thinking is. But I think if we could come up with something for that in the end was beneficial to the town property, I think it could be a winning situation. Not
We
that
could
we're,
get 2 or 3 names of people too to, work with Brad on that, because, we need to have somebody review it.
all right, but we try to do that quickly, all right?
It seems to, I mean, again, our hope was to try and to do some work out there. It looks like the hurdles are a bit unsurmountable, so it sounds like we're going to need to continue to.
And we don't want to be a protracted thing either. I think we can bring that to a conclusion pretty quickly.
And perhaps you can bring orders with you on the 9th.
Right, even if we closed tonight, we wouldn't have orders till, so if we had them on the.
Would be
if we
next
had
meeting.
them next
Yeah,
meeting.
Now you're down to
we have a
a week.
10-day appeal period. I think we're
Right.
unfortunately run out of time unless you could give us permission to do the work during the appeal period at our own risk, but
I think you already got that, so Ken's not worried about that. Okay. All right. Motion to close,
Make motion to close.
No, continue.
no, we're gonna continue.
Oh, you just, oh. Excuse me.
I'll hopefully close on the next meeting and have
And
orders.
have everything. I make a motion to continue 87 Maple to December 9th at 6:40.
Second.
Maybe a little
It'll
later.
never
Hold on,
happen at
wait.
6:40.
Yeah.
It'll never happen at 6:40.
I know, it
Yeah.
won't, but
Okay. Second,
Second, yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
for,
you.
appreciate your,
Frank, can I have 1 minute?
sure.
I think
Emerging
Frank
Mr. Bjorklund, I didn't you had your hand up, and I didn't let you,
You covered it.
Emerging what?
How did I mark yours?
Darn.
I was just
No,
going to
this
say you
is
have a boilerplate condition that talks
You're-
about
you're very
private
important.
property rights.
Right.
Couldn't go into town property anyways. Yeah, that's all.
yeah,
You could actually have approved it. They was done the work.
right.
Yeah, to get him that he's doing the right thing, and
Hey, that could be, turtle nesting habitat.
Yeah, it could be.
No idea.
why, in God's name, would you bring that up?
Well, that was actually out of the.
Why? in
That's what I was
God's
bringing
name?
up about. Such a wise.
Why would you even start that?
I might put one in my yard.
Yeah, but
With them?
Yeah, don't forget your,
you hear that expression?
Something what? Uh-huh.
We'll go out and take a look, for sure.
Probably would have been a good thing to bring up at the, meeting.
Because I mentioned a couple of times, I mentioned on the phone today, and we talked about it before, the fact that, my concern was it's not supposed to be, it's supposed to be residential.
Oh, absolutely.
And this kind of stuff, when I happen to be at Sam's.
I'm sorry, and your name is, sir?
Father Mackin, I'm Mike Mackin. I'm the neighbor.
As you come down the driveway on the
Oh,
right.
right, yeah, sure,
Right,
okay, yeah.
Right.
And we were at Sam's, and so I'm digging, and as soon as it started, 2 hours later, I saw washing on the road, and asphalt on the house. He said, I called him, as he was dumping on the property, and he said.
It's not.
No, that's just, what did you do down, you saw Bob and.
We can send Pat back up there.
Two piles, there's two piles on the left.
I can go up
I'm
there.
surprised nobody even noticed.
Well, I think what we were saying tonight, in all honesty, when we have issues that we discuss, they should be discussed with the full.
Okay, I should have brought up, my thought was.
Absolutely, you should have discussed this while both, so that they're, have the ability
To
to,
respond, okay, because when they were talking about taking everything out, I was wondering if that was part of the whole.
Yeah.
I should have asked.
well, I will ask Pat to take a look. We're gonna have,
I think the last, was planning board rep.
what we will do is, what Pat was saying is, we're going to have a consultant review what they've proposed, and the consultant's gonna have to go out and take a look. So while they're out there, they can
We'll have
take a
that
look
in the scope.
and see if there's something out there that shouldn't be. Yeah. Well, it seems like they're pretty anxious. It seems like they're pretty anxious to put it back together. I think, I mean, it seems like it, I can tell you, we have people that tell us they're coming in and they drag the thing out for. Right, yeah. Why don't you do that?
All right, good, thank you.
Okay.
An emerging resource area, I guess.
Frank, what did you say, the emerging what? It's not gonna be a woods, it would be an emerging
Habitat.
habitat.
Like emerging habitat or emerging forest. And what it is essentially, if you think back like to when this area was colonized, they cut down everything. And for a long time, there were fields. And then as those forests start to come back up, it's all briars, bramble, smaller trees, which make great habitat for like rabbits, fox, woodcockers.
Whale.
Yeah, that sort
Right,
of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And so, it's something that I'd like for the commission sooner or later to consider. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, if we found, and I don't know whether that area is big enough to actually consider it, but he's already cleared it.
Yep.
So normally we'd pay someone
Be a good place to start, yeah.
to try a little bit and possibly even enlarge it.
Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving.
Going to work tomorrow. I'm reasonably open-minded at the moment.
And
Well,
there's,
the other good part, I mean, that I've seen, at least, is that these folks have been, like, put their hands up and said,
Well-
we want to get it
But
fixed.
that's why I
there
want
are
you to
other
write.
factions in town.
Well, let's see what goes on. But it's, you
It's the
know,
most turkeys I've ever seen, is in that
yeah.
plot. Every time, every day I
They're,
see.
they're basically appealing the same thing that they fight. They're saying that's a stream, it's not a stream. And they go, we have new information, it's a stream.
Sure.
No, you
Okay.
have a consultant out there saying it's a stream. When we went out and looked at it, it's not a stream.
Sure. Yep.
What they were trying to do
Ah, gotcha.
is appeal.
Where's that list?
What do we have,
We have some
Oh, I
CSCs,
think it's positive.
I know it's possible.
Yeah, but I was.
You can share. Let's roll. I gotta leave the
So-
house at 5 AM tomorrow.
2A.
okay. Let's see yours.
No. See what you guys.
All right, certificates of compliance.
Doesn't sound right?
Well, we have 30 Ocean Drive.
Carol, do you have
That's the one in Hummerock.
CSCs?
Yeah,
On
that,
the agenda.
Yeah, well, this one's on the agenda?
Yep,
Yeah,
that's the
it is.
last one right there. Yep. I'll move it.
7 Surfside.
Tim.
Yeah, but I don't know what it is.
Number 7, Surfside.
That's why we're not remembering it. They didn't do any work. No work took place, right? Is that the one?
Well, it was before I bought the house.
I'm sorry, sir, your name is?
Matt Murmas.
Okay.
And I bought the house in '08 and put a whole new septic system in, and we even built another house and all that stuff, but in '06, and we didn't pick this up on our title search, but in '06, the previous owner had hired Grady to do something there, some septic work or something, and an order of conditions was put out.
but she pulled the plug and didn't do the work, but the order of conditions was reported.
Right.
So we need
So essentially, there's an order of conditions were done for septic that never got done, and then someone else got the property and did something entirely different. So the best way is just to give them a CFC for something that didn't get done.
Exactly.
Work
Okay.
never commenced, CSA, yeah.
All right?
Yep.
That sounds good.
So, make a motion.
Motion, woman.
I make,
Do we even need one?
we don't do them for
No.
CSC.
No, we just
We just
discuss them.
discuss them.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
You're good.
okay.
Yeah, but I need some,
Well, you'll get it.
I need some form tomorrow to bring to a closing,
Oh,
I don't know.
times are closing.
2 o'clock.
Okay. Call in the morning, maybe 10. You're gonna be in, so that you,
We're in a meeting in here, but I can sign, if you can come across the hall if you want. Or you can sign.
well, you can sign before. the
Okay.
meeting. I
So
mean,
what
it's
time?
all ready, it's just gotta be.
So what time do they come in? 9 o'clock?
10.
Okay. 11 o'clock? 11 o'clock? I'll see you at 11. All right, thank you.
Frank, we have someone here for 150 Front Street, I think, too, so.
Okay. And what's that one?
150 Front CSC. This is the bulkhead down at
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Duval's. The work was complete. We asked the.
Oh, that's the one that was caving in front of the mill wharf?
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
And the engineer submitted a request for a certificate. We looked at it last time, but he didn't have details on his plan. He has since sent those in. Is that plan over there, that file?
Yeah, the file, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my bum is killing me.
Oh.
Woman here.
Mm.
Probably.
Two women here. I feel like I could fall asleep.
That's what happened. I was here at the selectmen's meeting, and there was a whole bunch of stuff going on. And I'm just sitting out there waiting for our turn. And then we get up, and Sean Harris gave me a hard time. He goes, "Hey, I've done that
No, I
before."
think it's great.
Yeah.
We already told you what it is.
You'd think that, most people want to save money and like cut back on the heating bill. You'd think the town might be interested in that.
Or at least there should be a zone in the room and you
Are we all set?
This is, he sent in a letter, and he had a whole bunch of pictures from when he had worked on it. And sent them in, and they should be in there. Yeah, next page, yeah. So this is just showing the wall being reattached. Just things on there, so that was all we were looking for.
Well, it looks like we got them.
And the parking lot stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody,
For us.
Go ahead.
Yay for us.
All right.
22 Jenkins Place? Yeah.
which one are you waiting for? Oh, okay.
22 Jenkins Place, there is a question you need to consider. Okay, the usual as-built plan shows us more than this. This goes back 10 years. I think we have, the original developer was on here. We may bring him up to talk about this. So this is the existing foundation. There was replication work, there was all sorts of stuff. It's really not shown on the plan. There weren't any plans because it was Neil Murphy, and this was all he had. Excuse me, Steve, on 22 Jenkins Place,
Oh, yeah.
you want to speak
My
to
old
that?
project?
Your old project. All we have is the plan that you were involved with originally, and there was no official as-built, but if you,
Isn't that a ranch on the right?
no, it's
not
a
a
big
ranch.
new house.
Two-story. That was the electrician bought that from me.
Yeah, it's on the right.
What are they trying to do?
They're trying to get a certificate of compliance, and Neil Murphy had done some plans, but all we have is this. We don't really have a complete as-built.
We've got an original plan that
Well,
has
have they
all the
complied with all the
wetlands,
conditions?
all the stuff that we were gonna put in.
We do.
On the original plan.
We do, but the as-built doesn't, so this guy was requesting to get it without all that, and I said, you're probably gonna need more than this.
Hmm.
And I went to Board of Health, and I went to Building, and this is all we have, so.
What's on the orders?
Yeah, has he complied with everything?
Yeah, you and I.
Right, we did.
you and I were
So
over there.
is it, do we think that it's pretty much up to snuff?
Yeah, I mean, the plantings and everything were up to snuff, but, they're not on any plan. But the original.
Did he actually plant it?
He did. He removed the invasives and he did some plantings in the back near the stream.
Recently?
November, no, August?
Okay, but this year?
Yeah,
this year.
This was years ago, it was
Yeah, this was
approved.
10 years ago, yeah.
I know for years and years, they never did any of the replication work at all, or
Right.
enhancement work.
Yeah.
I think when he went to sell the property, I think he came to me and asked me what to do, and I said, you gotta do what shows in the plans.
Yeah.
But then I was out of it at that point, so if he's planted it since then, he's probably okay.
And
Everything
yeah.
else was all right.
He had to crush the tank, he had a tight tank in the ground
Yes.
there, he had to crush that. and put it-
Yeah.
He's out to sewer now. So this is what you and I looked at, and then there was a piece, it was a fort and all this junk back in the stream, and we said he had to
Right.
remove that stuff, so.
Did he?
He had done the planting, he'd removed one thing, but he still needs to do a few more things, but.
Okay.
yeah. So,
Well, you wanna
I
just
mean,
tell him-
pending on-
Well, tell
Yeah.
him to get that stuff out of there.
Yeah, okay.
So is that the only thing outstanding, is just the junk?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you need an engineered plan, and that's the preference, I think.
Yeah, but I don't want another CSC given until everything's done.
Right.
We've
I
been
agree.
told
Right.
before they're gonna do stuff and then we end
Oh,
up.
have you seen that recently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, never, never. Never saw that.
The issue in this one was, he doesn't want, didn't want to do a full engineered plan, and it's not a good.
Well, just
I'm
go
not worried about the full engineered
get the
plan, but I want
crap
stuff
out.
out of there.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
but usually we want,
People
elevation.
use that crook
Because that was
for
the
years
yay
to
problem.
throw junk in.
And what's the date of this plan?
Jenkins Place is across from Jenkins School, just a little side dirt road.
I think there's been plenty of time to acquire. the-
Right, no, and the big thing is you go order by order. Did he comply with the orders?
Right, yeah.
It's
That's what
simple.
we're doing.
Right.
We
All right.
have to
Across
comply.
the
So we
street
get the
from
top
the
foundation.
entrance to Jenkins
Yeah.
School.
And that's-
One's Jenkins Place, the
Yeah,
next
I know
one
what you're talking
is
about.
Dunbar,
The
and
wetland
the
stuff.
house is down by.
Anything you can do to make it better, so we took out a ton of invasives,
Yeah.
put in some
You
plants.
wouldn't believe the crap.
Okay.
But, I mean, the issue of.
There's
a
another
real
house in
as-built
Dunbar that.
I think we're fine to get it just cleaned up.
Just tell him to get it cleaned up, we'll give it to
10
him.
years
So,
old.
so proof of compliance. huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Photos, well, photos.
yeah.
Photos.
All right.
Just
All right.
get the
Sounds
junk
good.
out, and then you can have it, not until,
Did we do 30 Ocean Drive?
no.
Yeah, we're working backwards.
No, we're working.
Oh, doing it backwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems that
Yeah.
way.
So we got
Yeah.
those, 43 Oceanside?
Yeah.
23 Oceanside isn't ready.
Okay,
Next.
36 Brunswick?
36 Brunswick is the Walsh household, and we're out there. There's 2 open orders of conditions right now, and they're looking for certificates of compliance. One, it was a septic in a house, and that was all done according to the plan. That could be issued. The second one was a replanting of beach grass in the back and a walkway and a fence.
That's
So
not
we were
good.
out there this week, and the walkway is not on the side of the property where it was proposed.
Okay.
And the thought was the driveway is where the walkway is now. Could that be a continuation of a driveway out? So, I mean, I think that could be prevented.
Well, so we can't issue that one tonight till they get it sorted out.
Well, I think it's as sorted out as they're planning on getting it out, so we have to at least talk about. Paul and I were out there, and there's no snow fence. There's a snow fence on one side, there's a split rail on the other, but it's not gonna be trapping sand either way, so I don't see the difference in the fence being a big deal. I mean, it was just a fence to keep the property line. But the pathway, if you want that to be on the opposite side and still not to be able to allow someone to drive out that way, we could put in posts. Or we could say, put it where the original plan was.
Put a couple boulders. The only bad thing about moving it, I'm kind of neutral on it, is they've already got dune grass that's taken pretty good
That's
on
the
that
only
other
good-
side.
Yeah, that's the
Could
best
have
section.
them put a couple boulders or
Is this
posts.
public access or private
No,
access?
it's just private.
All right.
So
It's
just put something that's gonna prevent vehicle traffic,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
couple of boulders.
That's a big rock.
Couple boulders at the end of the driveway, or
Yeah,
posts, like you said, couple posts.
Yeah,
Yeah, boulders are actually better. I've seen people move
Yes.
posts.
Well, you can move boulders too, it's real easy.
Yeah.
Do that conditions
yeah.
and they get it?
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, they're
planting,
in 5 minutes.
we estimated it was close to 75% growth in the beach grass, and it was over a septic, over a leaching field. It actually looked pretty good,
Yeah.
so.
Good fertilizer.
Are boulders natural to that environment?
Yes, quite.
Beach boulders, yeah.
Okay. All right.
So you're gonna give that one?
I would like to have some kind of conservation post too, maybe boulders but just so that it's no driving through here, you know, this is protected beach grass or whatever.
All right, but let's make it so they can't.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, so boulders and a
Boulders
post?
or posts, either one, whatever you pick.
Okay,
Posts
You're on
with
your
the
menu.
signs, yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Get that out.
38 Gilson?
38 Gilson, this one was done a couple of years ago. They had a partial certificate, and they were looking for full, and the vegetation needed the time to grow, and it's grown in. It's all rows of rugosa on the cliff.
Sounds good.
Oh, it's good.
And 30 Ocean Drive?
That's the one we went to?
We went, yeah,
Yeah.
that's basically done.
Mr. Hurley, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, that one was, they used pavers and crushed stone for the driveway area, and they did plantings, and the plantings were doing pretty well. So that one's all set to go too.
Did we do 150 Front Street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Get
That was the
different
bulkhead?
names, Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same as
Oh,
25
sorry,
Mill
sorry.
Wharf.
That's the Mill Wharf one, yep.
Carol, do you
Sorry.
have 43 Oceanside? Just, it's not ringing a bell. I think that's not ready, but,
I just crossed it out. But lot 59 Crescent Ave, you could talk about, well, I looked for 43.
Lot 59 Crescent Ave.
The one we went to today,
oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
You go
Yeah.
there? You didn't go there today.
Yes, I did.
No, Branch. No, Brook we went to.
No, but we went to Crescent Ave too.
Crescent
And met
Ave
the
uh,
is
builder.
on Second Cliff.
Cliff. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was.
We,
All right, let's
where
get-
were we today?
We've been at this way longer than we should have been.
Yeah.
We were at Brook Road and we were at
Hillcrest.
Hillcrest.
That's where the Crescent, Hillcrest. Sorry.
Can somebody else go with them?
Penny.
Jeez.
Yeah, let's,
So
Come on.
Crescent Lane is, this is the one where there was all sorts of stuff discovered when they started digging the foundation. There was a septic in the ground and all this drainage
yeah.
stuff.
This is Hillcrest.
No,
No, this is Crescent.
Crest.
Oh, that's one that Barbara Thesel sent us a report on.
Yes.
Hillcrest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did go there.
All right.
All right, so that one, they're not looking for a certificate or anything yet, but the abutter is concerned about the stormwater, so I called the builder to come in and talk about what they found and how they're gonna, you know, make up for what was done in stormwater out there. It's, you know, they had pipes going out onto the beach from the property, and they should be directed in a different way, but that's a different one.
So,
Okay,
we're
that's-
not talking lot 59 with the,
No, lot 59 was the one we just talked about that needed plantings. That's number 82.
What,
so
what,
that's not ready either.
Yes, yeah, they just voted on it.
So,
Okay.
we did?
Lot 59, let's see.
I have a list here of certificates of compliance, and now we're talking about something altogether
No,
different.
lot 59, Crescent Ave is number 82. We just voted on that. They had Rose Rugosa they put in.
Okay.
Those were added on the
And
agenda.
no, I do
Frank.
not have 43 Ocean Drive. You told me it wasn't gonna
That's
be.
all
those
right,
are the two in
yeah.
red.
The rest of them are all done.
Okay.
well, you can't be expected to keep track of everything.
So Mill Wharf Plaza and Front Street are the same.
Yep.
Yes.
That's,
Yeah.
okay. 30 Ocean Drive. Okay. We're back on track.
And did you want to talk about 47 Brook?
47 Brook was a request to put asphalt down on a gravel, part of a gravel driveway, and it's on Brook Road, Brook Lane.
Brook Street.
Brook Street.
Okay, as you're coming down, there's a sloped driveway down to a gravel area, then there's a garage and then, or a shed, then there's a lawn, and then there's wetlands in the back. And they're
This brook.
putting in a basketball court, so Penny and I went out there today, and it's just a section of driveway. I mean, she's within riverfront, so she probably should file, you know, I would recommend probably an RDA.
Fine.
Because it's not gonna be any damage to
Okay.
anything.
Yep.
so, you know.
Okay.
All right. That was it, right? Oh, Hillcrest.
Well, we did go to Hillcrest, yeah, we did.
Okay, Hillcrest was the brand-new house on the edge of the wetland, a long lot with wetlands all in the back. And the septic's in the front left. This is Tony Marinelli
It's across from Kelly's house that McLaughlin built.
off of Barker.
George Kelly
Oh, yeah,
has
yeah,
two
yeah.
Off
houses.
of Barker. So when they get out there, they were told they had to do a lot of plantings originally, and they had to put a fence at the 50-foot. The 50-foot would be in the house.
Yeah.
If you were 50 feet from the buffer, so they couldn't have done that. But the plantings, I don't know if there was a site visit a couple of years ago, and someone said, rather than plantings, don't disturb anything, just let everything grow.
We went out there and we, before they even started, and said, we'll decide the mitigation once you clear the land. I'll tell you, this guy did exactly what we asked him to. He's got only like 10 feet, 5 to 10 feet off the back of the
I know,
house.
yeah.
He did a beautiful job. There's no backyard. There's just
So we're
enough-
gonna give him a certificate of compliance?
I would.
Well,
Okay.
he's not asking for one. He's just wondering if it's...
Well, why are we talking about it?
Yeah, what are we voting on? That's what
He
I'm
had to re-
wondering.
He wanted to know if what he's doing will be good enough so when he submits a certificate of compliance, you guys will be okay with it. And I wasn't even around when the original deal was made, so I figured, I'd come in and bring it to you.
Well, we asked him to put posts up
All right, so
instead of the fence.
we need to discuss 305 Country Way.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get done.
Okay.
Okay, so you have it, I think it's, the choices are right in front of you, maybe up by your name tag there.
Look at two, 2A,
2A.
Frank. Looks like it would be the perfect one.
He's good.
We all have the sheet.
Oh, okay.
But it's just.
I stepped out and everybody took all my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I got it. I stole it from him. Stole it from him. I got it out of that little book.
It can't be.
Can you imagine trying to get something out of there?
There's 1 and 2, I think it's gonna have to be a negative. There's positive is saying you gotta go file an NOI or an ORAD, and he already has one.
Right.
Are you sure positive 2A says that?
I thought negative means it's not jurisdictional.
No, a
Well,
negative says.
Negative,
Go ahead and
See,
do what you
it's
want.
different,
Right,
this
but-
is usually
but-
the applicant that files this, but I think if a positive determination means work within there is no work within the resource area. So if you read the positive determination, that's saying, gee, work's gonna be in the resource area. And there isn't. It's gonna be outside.
But this talks about the delineations, 2A.
And then for that, you just say an ORAD was filed. We already have an ORAD.
Yeah, this is
So you
strange,
don't
because
have to
really
do
what
it.
they're doing is they're using an RDA to try and appeal.
Right.
That's what they're
exactly.
trying to do, outside of the
Right.
appeal
And they're
period.
gonna appeal us if we don't.
Right.
Determine.
I thought 2A was saying that we've already ruled
already
on it,
ruled
there's
on it.
already
That's what I thought,
jurisdiction
too.
there, it's already delineated. I thought that's exactly what that was for.
Confirmed as accurate, therefore the reserve confirmed this, are bringing to, as to all decision runs to, yeah, to me,
They didn't
that's.
use an RDA, though, to get the determination. It's something that was already done by someone else. So we're not saying, yeah, your ideas of the wetland are right. No, the old ORAD is what we're going by.
Okay.
And nobody has to file again with us. You don't have to file an ORAD or an NOI. That would be a positive. There'd have to be another filing with us. So it has to be some kind of a negative.
Okay.
And several of these negatives don't look right, but we need to, because this, I mean, in the event there's an appeal, we really want to make sure we have the right.
Yeah, they said they want a copy of the ruling, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
This,
And there's too many choices. This form is.
Well, -2 says the work described in the request is within an area subject to protection, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter the area. So they're talking about that stream, and there's no work in the stream.
That's why we gotta read these.
Yeah.
All right, so negative means no further action under the Wetland Protection Act is needed. So it's definitely in the negative category. So now there's 5 choices, and the last one's riverfront, so it's 6 choices.
Yeah, the area works.
if you, in 2B, boundaries of the resource area below are not confirmed in this determination, regardless of whether such boundaries are contained on the plan detached of the determination.
they're just gonna drag
Oh.
this. I feel bad for the guy. Jesus Christ.
Why?
This has been going on for a long time, that's why.
Oh, you mean, oh, the
The building. I mean, everything else he does. And he's, you know, and their cooperative with planning.
The first big thing is it should be positive or negative.
So negative
Negative.
4, if you look at negative 4, the
Work.
work described is not within an area subject to protection. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent unless it eventually alters a resource area. So I would say
Maybe that's it.
Yeah,
negative
that looks like the
4.
best
Not
one if
under
you
our
want to go negative.
jurisdiction.
That is pretty good.
The tributary is.
Described
Right,
is not
which
within
is
an
under
area
jurisdiction,
subject to
yeah.
protection. Because they're working outside the protected area. Therefore, said work does not require.
The work described
Yeah.
or reference plans,
Yeah,
documents.
the work, because one is work and one is area, yeah. So I would say
Do
4
you
is
have D
one.
under,
You can have more than one, can't you?
Yeah.
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 So he was asking us about that drainage ditch.
He
thing. So
checked
that might
off,
be-
he checked off 4 boxes
Yeah.
in his, I think I gave all that back.
so I
Mine's in the rubbish for
No, I still have it here someplace.
I don't know. I don't know if one is yes or not.
Well, what's interesting, though, if we say positive and it requires a notice of intent, a notice of intent has already been filed.
Get it changed.
Yeah, and we already ruled on
Four
that.
questions,
Right.
A, B, C, and D.
Right, does that make sense? It says this.
You got a helpline? Can you?
Right, D.
Right, what,
yeah, we got D, whether. the
what about,
area
Pat,
and/or
it's,
parking
you know,
lot
if you're
boundary
positive
subject to the-
on an RDA, anybody can file an RDA. If the finding is positive, it means the project is subject to an NOI. We already have an NOI.
We already have an ORAD. Yeah, we don't have an NOI. yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion on this one? I think the consensus here is that nothing more needs to be done.
Correct.
And we need to figure out the proper piece, and I'm not familiar with that. Can you get any sort of feedback from either MAC or from DEP?
Yeah, I mean, I think the clock is ticking, and I think that there's gonna be an appeal, so I think if we can get something,
I'm not gonna check off the wrong box, and I'm not gonna vote the wrong piece,
No,
and
then
create
they
other work
definitely-
for
Right.
somebody else. And I really don't know what the answer is, and we
Okay.
could talk about it half the
I
night.
know, well, you're
but,
right.
but to vote on it, we gotta be, we have to make a decision within the 21 days. And, so do we have to have a vote again? We'd have to get together for a vote?
Oh, what's the ninth?
Well, we got the ninth, that's 14 days.
No, we've had this for a while.
What's wrong with negative 1? The area described in the request is not.
You might, wait a minute,
Not a
he
request.
brought it in just last week.
Subject to protection.
Carol was out, he brought it in on Friday, I was there.
Well, but the area described in the request is
Oh,
subject
it-
to protection.
Was here at the first
11
What they're debating is
We have
the
2
area
days.
that we're using as a resource area. They're just debating it.
3 days, yeah. Yeah, we have to vote on.
Boy, time
tonight.
flies.
I mean, even if we did, say we did -4.
Work described in the request is not within an area subject to protection under
Right,
the
which
Act.
is what we determined.
Therefore,
Right,
said
it
work does
wasn't.
not require filing of notice.
Right. It's the work,
Unless
it's the
and until
project
said work
itself is
is
not in
fine.
there. I mean, I think we could do it, maybe there's other boxes, but if we do a 4, at least we get,
All right.
and then on appeal, at least we've checked off a box within 21 days that's true.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and since our bylaws and stuff are more restrictive, this is talking about alters an area subject to protection under the Act. So,
He
which is
asked
less
about-
restrictive.
Including the buffer zone.
He asked about bylaws, but I don't know if it's in one of the boxes he checked.
D, for bylaw.
Okay, so it's both, they're both on there, yeah, so
Okay.
maybe,
It's still negative.
yeah. About, 6, 4 and 6.
2.
I'd say 4 and 6.
Mhm.
Yeah, work described. 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we gotta cover both state and
Yep.
Scituate.
Okay.
4 and 6, all right.
Yeah, a motion?
I make a motion for a -4 and 6 on 305 Country Way.
And we need to mention there's an appeal process for this, if somebody wants to appeal. I'm not here, but
Right.
I'll let them know tomorrow, but
Second.
there is an appeal process.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there a way for the future You know, that really what they were doing tonight is using an RDA to try and appeal outside of the appeal period, which means you can do this all the time, anytime. I wonder if there's a way to, for us to just not hear an RDA.
Well, you have to hear it, but when he was through his appeal on the ORAD, this might have been in mind, but
Right.
I don't know, because
His
it's lose the
shape.
appeal.
Right.
The shape
Yeah.
on
But I
the
think
garden.
by right, they can't appeal. They have to mail it to the property owner.
Okay.
There was something about the town buying land or taking donated land.
Yeah.
Right.
We went, the selectmen's had a discussion on it.
Yeah, there was something we got today that Carol got.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, but we haven't had a chance to
If
read
it, if it didn't have value,
We could
all
put
we
it
do
on-
is be paying taxes. So we need to determine if it has
Yeah.
value.
And I don't think she asked us to take a vote on it, just she wanted us to look it over and.
And there was another one from her.
To develop and adopt some guiding principles when reviewing land and donations.
In correspondence was asked about that same property and to the.
Oh, Shadwell? Frank, you're familiar with Shadwell property, the guy's already donated 2 lots to the town.
Yeah.
He wanted to donate a third, we brought it to them, and they said they wanted to study it because it's, it's a small lot, but there's tax revenues.
But it's all wet,
Yeah.
all wet.
Right.
It's a swimming pool in the
So
summer.
it wouldn't be taxable anyway, right?
Well, we
I don't know.
recommend, all we do is recommend to the selectmen that we take it. They have to vote it.
Yeah.
Looks like she's looking for some guidelines from us on that.
All right, well, we'll take a look at it.
140 River Street, they were gonna be doing a mailing from the Corps of Engineers, they didn't get it to the person, the letter came back, so we had to go to the assessor and get a Quincy address for the property owner. So the Corps was gonna send them a letter, say to help the wall, and then they're gonna CC us. Candlewood, I have a draft of all the things, minutes in the order of conditions that, it's not done, it's a draft. I will have it out tomorrow or the next day. In Indian Trail, we've asked Pat Brennan to take a look at plans that are done by Grady. And Grady is gonna send them to him, but I don't think that's happened yet, so I need to, remind them again. This has been going on for a while.
So that just keeps going.
Oh,
And it's gonna keep
you
going.
have no idea.
But at least they know that they're gonna have plans reviewed, and, if they don't work, they're gonna have to fix it a
Right.
different way.
Well, I just hope Henry doesn't get a landslide this winter.
Okay, we hit?
I did.
Anything else?
That it?
We didn't get to it, but maybe the next meeting on one of these that we don't have a bunch of stuff going on. I do want to get onto some of our open space work, some trails, some parking. We now have the Higgins-McAllister piece. We have the opportunity to maybe create a parking area at the end of that. We still want to do some parking at Bates Lane. We really got to get onto a few of these
Maybe
pieces.
we should schedule those at like 6:30 to 7.
Or maybe we should just have a different meeting with anybody
Okay.
that's really interested in
Yeah,
doing that. Why don't we?
that would be the better
We have
thing
to
All right.
to
post
do.
it, right?
And then it won't
Yeah.
get bogged down or not get done. We might just, right after Christmas,
Yeah,
say, let's have a
Yep.
night that we can meet and just discuss some of these
That-
other projects.
Yeah,
Staff.
fees,
All we're doing
the
is
fees
putting out
thing,
fires and
yeah.
dealing with these filings. And I really
And
want to
what's
get
your
back
time?
to a couple of those pieces.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, sir.
All right?
Wine and cheese and crackers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, great.
That'd be a fun meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have it at the
Love a few more of
WPA
those.
building or something.
Motion to adjourn?
All right. Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're out of here.
Thank